Let me tell you why I'm here. I'm here fighting for people in my district because Republicans are willing to sell out working and struggling folks in my district, and frankly, theirs too, to appease billionaires and big corporations. Now, I know we've had a lot of talk about how much SNAP costs a day, and the fact is that it's only $6 a day that a person gets when they get SNAP benefits, but we've not talked about the cost of Medicaid. It costs approximately $10 a day to ensure a kid gets health care through Medicaid. So we're talking about to take care of kids. Let's say they've got SNAP and Medicaid, only $16 a day. But another thing we've not really put into perspective, we've talked about these billionaires, and we've talked about the fact that this is all to benefit them. No one has talked about how many billionaires we actually have in this country. We have more billionaires in the United States than any other country, but the total number is 83. Last time I checked, we have 435 members in the House, and we have 100 members in the Senate, yet somehow 83 people in this country have more representation than the hundreds of thousands that are about to lose their health care as well as their SNAP benefits. If I just started going through the Republicans that sit on this committee briefly, I would tell you that, Chairwoman, you have 112,000 people that are about to lose SNAP benefits just in your district. I would tell you that it is estimated in your state, as your senators stated, that roughly 651,982 would lose their health care, or I would tell Rep. Fishbach that 67,000 people on SNAP, and in the entire state of Minnesota, 173 would lose their health care. I could go on with these numbers, or I could tell you about the fact that even when we look at my state, and I know that Chip Roy sits on this committee, but he's not here right now, but we have 56,000 people that are on SNAP in his district, but in the entire state of Texas, we have 1.6 million people that may lose coverage. And somehow we have 83 billionaires. And somehow they have 535 people that are speaking up for them every single day to make sure that when they get married for a second or third or fourth time, that they can go ahead and have another $50 or $60 million wedding. Instead of protecting access to these programs, you're cutting them to help billionaires who pay less in taxes than some of the teachers in our country. You claim to want a tax system and budget that helps people, but that's impossible when you're subsidizing tax credits off of the folks who can't even afford to treat their kids or family to a nice meal because federal minimum wage hasn't gone up in 15 years. If y'all want to make a better system, then adopt my amendment number 314 that would require an increase in the federal minimum wage of $15 in order for corporate tax breaks to go into effect. Speaking of wages, this bill doesn't even give the same level of help to people living on tip wages and working overtime just to put food on this table as it does for Trump's billionaire buddies. In fact, the bill only allows no tax on tips and overtime until 2028, and we've talked about this. Listen, this is a joke. This was nothing more than a campaign scheme. This was about saying, you know what, I'm gonna make this promise to you. And we can talk about the fact that there have been a lot of promises made, yet a lot of promises broken. In fact, that was one of the reasons it seems like that, Senator Tillis has decided that he's done. And he's gonna get out because he understands that there's nothing but broken promises that are being made. Broken promises that look like, say, I'm going to deport the bad guys only, and then we end up with children with cancer or Americans or undocumented taxpayers that contribute more than $100 billion in taxes. Those are the ones being thrown in cages and sent to other countries. Or we look at the fact that there was a promise made and broken that Doge was supposed to be the magic trick. Now Elon is being threatened with deportation and the cancellation of his own contracts, which historically have been estimated at a whopping $38 billion after he decided that he was going to spill the tea about the Epstein files. And frankly, the truth is that we know that we could cut a lot of those contracts to Elon, but somehow that hasn't been done. Instead, we, the American people, have been left with the hefty tab of incompetence by Doge and feeling extremely vulnerable. In fact, there was a Doge employee who was fired, and I appreciate this man, but truly, transparency and truth has no place in this particular government. This former employee of Doge says that during his short time embedded with the Department of Veteran Affairs, he did not find levels of waste, fraud, and abuse that he had expected, and it was pretty surprised, actually, at how efficient government was. I will wrap up by saying this. I don't really understand what it is that y'all plan to go back and tell your constituents. I'm glad that some of y'all decided to show up, but the reality is that you have sold your constituents out for 83 people in this country. And each of our districts should have approximately 766,000 people. How is it that you can explain that we still are running up the credit card and we have nothing to show for it except for the fact that we won't have food on the tables and we won't have health care? And with that, I will yield.